At the beginning of this part, Burton's mother Ella is doing household chores and she suddenly cannot see around. She once again lost her vision. She quickly calls for help but no one is around. Outside of her house, she finds Reese, Burton's friend, who quickly takes her to the hospital. As they drive, Robert watches them and follows them. In the meantime, at future London, Lobeer informs Zubov that she would prefer to interview the 3 people in the peripherals outside. Flynn wonders if Wilf could join them. Lobeer allows him. Shortly, they are taken to the zoo, a Met Police training facility by Lobeer. She informs Connor and Burton that they must participate in a training exercise. She then uses her power and transforms the debris into a tall building. After this, Beatrice, Lobeer's assistant, guides them and takes 2 boys inside the building, leaving Flynn behind with Lobeer. As Flynn asks why she is not part of this test, Lobeer tells her that she has designed another test for her. Inside the building, Beatrice explains the rules to the boys. According to her, they must move forward while removing every barrier until they arrive at the roof, where a big mystery is waiting for them. Soon 6 assailants surround them and they start to fight. Not long, the exercise begins with 6 armed guards surrounding them. Not long, boys easily defeat assailants. Then Beatrice warns them that it is not easy as it looks, since the 2nd floor will have 12 assailants, 3rd will have 18, and once they reach the top, they need to fight with 48 assailants. Burton and Connor seem excited to complete this test. At Clanton, while searching his car at the junkyard, Tommy discovers Robert's sonic gun, which he refers to as a doodad. He receives a phone from the sheriff, who calls him at Corbell Pickett's place. Back in the hospital, Robert cut his wrist and enters the hospital. When Reese approached to help him, he attacks him. Both of them fight. Ultimately, Robert kills him. Inside the room, after hearing the gunshot, DD calls Tommy but he doesn't answer. They step out to figure out what is going on and end up at the gunpoint of Robert. He asks them to take a sit and answer his question. In the meantime, at future London, Ash and Oshin discuss how the inspector acquired a sample of their DNA. Calling Ash, Zubov requests that she access the perspective of the peripheral. She rejects it because the inspector will indeed find out if they try to do so. Oshin informs her that they should pack their belongings and leave before it becomes too late. Ash doesn't like his idea, because if they do so, they would be left with nothing, including no access to the stub, or the control of Flynn. Flynn hears from Inspector Lobeer about the antis at the Met, data sorting algorithms that discover details of her life in Lobeer's timeline. Connor didn't lose any of his limbs in that version. This indicates that the Research Institute started opening the stub at least 10 years earlier than they had previously assumed. In Flynn's timeline, the jackpot appears to have occurred more quickly, and she suspects the Research Institute. Furthermore, she also informs Flynn that Connor and Burton served in the military as regular soldiers without the use of haptic technology. Unfortunately, Burton did not make it. This means Burton died in Lobeer's timelines. In Lobeer's timeline, she also reveals that Flynn married Tommy. The inspector is curious about Flynn and wants to know more about her. She invites Flynn to participate in a test where she will pose questions, and Flynn must provide the quickest response possible. In the meantime, Burton and Connor keep fighting to reach the top. They reach the roof, where Beatrice discloses the surprise. They fight till one of them remains standing. Lobeer asks Flynn a question. Flynn answered that her biggest fear is the death of her mother. Her greatest strength and greatest weakness are both related to the fact that she never knows when to give up. Furthermore, Flynn tells that she wouldn't try to change the past, even if she could go back in time. When Lobeer asks if Flynn wants her to cut off the connection between their worlds, she says no. Flynn fumbles when asked the reason. Soon they all wake up and are back, where they find a message from Reese that he has taken their mother to the hospital. Meanwhile, Tommy is at Corbell Pickett's house. As he enters the house, he sees blood marks and follows them. As he follows, he discovers Mary Pickett's body, and soon finds Sheriff and Pickett conversing outside. Sheriff Jackson informs Tommy that Robert shows up there, and stole one of their cars. However, the sheriff wants Tommy to arrest Burton for this. Tommy denies doing so, but Sheriff points out the consequences, which include Tommy losing the job, as well as being arrested for letting Robert escape during his custody. Tommy is angry with himself for getting into this situation as he sits in his car. Burton, Leon, and Flynn are on the way to the hospital. When Leon tries to connect Reese with the haptic technology, he couldn't connect it, and they quickly realize that something is wrong. At future London, Cherise Nuland shows up to meet with the inspector. She is impressed by Beatrice, who is disclosed to be peripheral. Inspector tells her that Beatrice was inspired by her daughter. Then Lobeer requests that Beatrice turn off the computer and wipe away the last 5 minutes. Lobeer then asks why she is there. Cherise claims that something has been taken from her and that she needs assistance from the law. In the meantime, Ash and Ashen discuss stealing something. They discuss gaining access to the bacteria in their encoded language. As Zubov reaches, they continue to discuss stealing it from beneath his nose. Zubov, on the other hand, has decoded their language and understands precisely what they are up to. He ponders over whether to kill them, or keep them alive before threatening Ashen's life to lure Ash into revealing their secrets. Ash finally tells that Alita intended to store the stolen Research Institute files in Burton's haptic implants, where they would be impossible to trace. However, because Flynne pretended to be him, put on the headset that was meant for Burton, and the headset changed the data into bacteria, which started to invade and occupy her brain. Ash claims that they intended to give the data to the Neoprim so that they could burn this world down and rebuild it. Zubov warns them from betraying him again. Cherise accuses Zubov and others of theft of the Research Institute's data on a neuron adjustment mechanism. She claims that it can be fatal in the wrong hands. She informs Lobeer that the Research Institute also developed the stub. If a thief like Zubov came into control of it, it would be extremely dangerous. She wants that Lobeer kills the Zubov and the Fishers. Back at hospital, Ella discovers that Robert is going to extremes to safeguard his own daughter. She tries to persuade him to consider not killing anyone, and suggests instead to commit suicide. Near the hospital, Burton stops the car, and everyone puts on weapons. Leon uses the haptics to make a connection with Reese's body, causing it to spasm. When Robert gets up to check on him, Burton takes advantage of the chance to shoot him down. Corbell Pickett and Sheriff Jackson are waiting for Tommy to bring Burton when he returns. He points Robert's gun at the sheriff, telling him he has not got many options left. Furthermore, he tells that Robert might have killed both Jackson and Pickett. He then shoots multiple times at the sheriff and then kills Pickett with the sonic gun. Moving on, Tommy examines the weapons in his hands as he sits in his car. He panics and quickly places them back in the evidence bag, and reports the incident. The police with the ENT team arrive there with an ambulance. One policeman informs him that ENT finds pulses on Corbell Pickett. Short time later, through one of the officers, Tommy also gets knowledge about the gunfire at the hospital. He quickly rushes there. Soon Tommy reaches there and meets with DD. After knowing the incident, DD is extremely worried for Tommy. In the future London, Inspector Lobeer suggests Flynne, Burton, and Connor to form a team. In return for their assistance as peripherals, she gives her resources to assist them in navigating the upcoming jackpot. Flynne claims she needs Lobeer's assistance in curing her mother. After consulting with the aunties, Lobeer discloses that there is no longer anything that can be done to help Ella. All possible approaches have been attempted. She estimates that Ella has 23 days to live. Flynne exits the peripheral and awakens in her own world in a distressed state. Seeing her in pain, Burton consoles her. In the future London, Ash tells Cherise Nuland that Flynne's brain contains the data from the Research Institute. The something Cherise was desperately searching is inside Flynne's brain. Ash requests Nuland if she could prevent Zubov from acquiring it. Nuland claims she can, however at an unimaginable cost, which is she'll speed up the jackpot in the stub to make disappear Flynne completely, removing decades of work in the process. In exchange, Ash demands that Nuland need to murder Zubov. After entering the peripheral, Flynne awakens on a bench next to Wilf. He apologizes for making it look that her mother's healing was a sure thing. Alita must be dead, Wilf claims when Flynne inquires about her. He mentions that he doesn't remember much about his childhood, or the camp in which he lived with his family. His father was captured during an attack on the camps, and Alita assumed command of Wilf. They spent 3 years living on the streets before being discovered and adopted. They escaped once more, and they spent 8 months living independently in their own tiny kingdom. They even had a flag, which was a hand without a thumb because Alita thought that all human sin originated with the prehensile thumb. He further adds that when he came ill, Alita sacrificed everything to bring him back. Wilf explains to Flynne that he wants to share something with her but is unable to do so, believing Lobeer might be listening in on everything. She suggests they connect with each other so she can differentiate between his thoughts and his feelings. They connect with each other. His memories elicit emotions that Flynne recognizes. Wilf says his own name aloud to see how Flynne reacts. Flynne and Wilf smile at each other. Now that they are aware of their feelings for each other, she inquires about the location where he and Alita had fled. Wilf and Flynne rush off to find Alita, which Ash and Ashen notice. When Ashen asks if they should inform Zubov, Ash responds that they now have a new master. Flynne and Wilf visit the location, which is now a public park. They discover a younger Alita waiting for them. She demands that Flynne leave because others can use her peripheral vision and ears. Flynne departs. Wilf learns from Alita that their implanted technology suppresses memories. Memories she began to recall after removing hers. She informs Wilf that their families were murdered by the Klept. Because of the nervousness that the disease would spread, 5 million people died in less than a couple of weeks. As others encircle them, Alita reveals that she has been collecting people who are similar to them. All they need right now is the information stored in Flynne's mind. In Clanton, Tommy informs Flynne of a Homeland Security alert concerning an impending attack on a missile silo in the area. He asks if she knows anything related to it, but she pretends to be unknown about it and leaves from there. Flynne enters her peripheral and meets Ash. She realizes Ash was already aware of the silo explosion. Ash admits knowing to everything. Soon Connor also joins her. She informs him of the situation and also that she requires to create a new stub to talk about their coalition. Lynn meets Lowbeer. Although Lowbeer can't open a fresh stub for Flynne, she can demonstrate how to do it. And by doing so, would give Cherise the impression that Lowbeer was on her side, while saving Flynne's world from total destruction. Then, Lowbeer directs Flynne to a stub, one of the Research Institute's supplementary sites. Flynne successfully disarms the nearby guardsmen. Cherise notices as she does it and enjoys watching her. Flynne discovers a pocket watch within it, which she uses to open the stub gate. Flynne however knows precisely where Cherise is, so she tells Cherise that she won't be able to locate her. Then she destroys the watch. We are cut to a flashback to Connor and Flynne's conversation, which reveals that Flynne intends to kill herself in her own world to prevent Cherise from blowing Shiloh missile. Connor is required to make it appear as if Lowbeer hired someone to do it for her. She commits that they will return to London because she wants to witness Cherise's death. Flynne strolls by a creek in Clanton. Flynne recalls every moment she has spent with her loved ones as she counts backward from 10. There is a loud bang from a gunshot. Flynne awakens in a future London. Lowbeer is right there and wonders if they ought to start working. Meanwhile, Lev Zubov and his wife are entering a classy place. When his wife notices 3 elderly men waiting for him, she asks Zubov what he's done. She takes leaves from there. Zubov walks over to their table. The men inform him that Zubov's father is ill and that they have come to speak with him instead. They discuss with him how his recent actions placed the Klept in danger. They support his investigation into the Research Institute, but advise him to make sure no assets are connected to him because, if they were, they would have to chop down the entire proverbial tree. The series ends here.